Hi everybody, Tyler here. So today for my artist spotlight, I'd like to talk about, well, arguably one of the biggest bands to ever exist, the Beatles. Now I'm sure there are going to be some of you out there who are going to be sighing to yourselves and saying, how can you talk about the Beatles? Everything that could be said about the Beatles has already been said. They've been ranked the number one band of all time on numerous lists, and they really have been talked to death. But I wanted to talk about them because I had some conversations over the weekend that really got me thinking about what it means to be influential in music and what it means to have a big impact on a genre of music. And so I think going forward for the next couple weeks, I'm going to be exploring that a little more, exploring these bands that have had such a impact and such a transformative effect on different genres. So the Beatles are, unarguably one of the most influential bands of all time. Um, the way they use harmonies, the way they put their songwriting together, the way that Paul's kind of sickly sweet, ideas went with Lennon's more cynical ideas, and they kind of came together to form this perfect fusion that was, on the one hand, not too sweet, but on the other, not too cynical, and came together to form something that really transcended those four people and completely enraptured an entire generation of people. So not only were they a band that at the time was seen as completely strange and completely foreign to many older people, they were also, as they came to the United States just around the time that the baby boomer generation was coming to high school, they really hit right at this transformative and pivotal moment for a lot of these younger people, and that music was just embraced instantly. And I think that, honestly, recently we haven't had anything like that. But to be fair, at the time, the pop rock of the Beatles was pretty much one of the few genres that was really popular on the radio. Now, today, you've got hip hop, you've got country, you've got rap, you've got all these other genres that are out there that are very popular on the radio, in the top 40 and all these kinds of things. But in the Beatles generation, they kind of said, hey, this is what people are going to listen to, this kind of music, and we are the ones who are showing people how to make that music. So I think they came about at a very lucky moment for them, but also at a very opportune moment for music in general. And I will admit that of course I love the Beatles because they have so many just fantastic songs, incredible albums. I will admit I do think it's a little unfair that the Beatles are always put at the number one spot whenever anyone talks about best bands. And I think a lot of that's due to the fact that they were so transformative and revolutionary when they first came over to the United States, and even when they were still performing in Britain. And they really did change the musical landscape. I think that there are other artists you could make a similar claim for, but I'll talk about those in later those artists in later videos. So I'm sure all of you have all listened to the Beatles, and I don't need to convince you to listen to them anymore. But what I would say is, if you haven't given the Beatles a listen recently, then go back and listen to Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. That's one of my personal favorite albums by them. I think it bridges the gap between some of their earlier work, which is a little more, songs like I Want to Hold Your Hand, things like that. A little more sweet and a little more old school, versus some of their later stuff, like Magical Mystery Tour, which gets a little more psychedelic. And I think Sgt. Pepper is a good equilibrium between the two. I won't say any more about that because I may or may not be talking about that album in a later video. But yeah, so please go check the Beatles out. I know you all have, but just remind yourself about what a band that comes about at the right time can really do, and what kind of effect it can have on the minds and the mentality of an entire generation of people, and how it can cement itself in popular culture for basically the next century. Or I suppose we'll have to see if that's true, but at least for a half a century, they have been dominant. So with that, I'll let you guys go. Y'all have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.